I want to take a minute to thank the members of the advisory group's labor committee, Tony Wigglesworth, Ryan O'Callahan, Jim Snell, Mark Lynch, and Rich Laser, all of you who have worked hard to prep for this meeting. I also want to again thank Prep Charter School, who has graciously allowed us to host all of these meetings. When I say graciously, they have been very, very good to us. And so I do want to thank all the staff here who have been helpful. We know that this is a difficult and painful issue. Hundreds of highly skilled and dedicated workers lost their jobs this week. Hundreds more are wondering what happens now that the work that their contractor employees used to perform at the refinery has dried up. Countless families throughout the region are facing uncertainty over their future. Many of these of the people affected are with us here tonight, and we're grateful that you all have taken the time to join us and make sure that your voices are heard. We look forward to hearing more from them about what the refinery means, what it means to their families, what it meant to work at the refinery, what it was like to work at the refinery, and anything else that they think we need to know as we move into the future.
What it means to the community.
Yes, sir. Certainly what it means to the community as well. I expect many people will want to speak tonight, which is great, and we're going to encourage everybody to speak tonight. But we also know that people may want to share their perspective in a different format. We are distributing paper surveys that people can fill out to give your feedback to our staff as they leave, and we also encourage you to send us an email at refinery@phila.gov. If this is your first meeting, I want to give you a brief reminder of why we're here. The purpose of the advisory group is to help the city convene a wide array of stakeholders who have different perspectives and expertise on the refinery. The advisory group will not make policy or decisions. Instead, the people who are on the advisory group have been tasked with convening stakeholders to present information back to the city. Many of the people on this group do not agree with each other on many issues, and that was deliberate. We want to hear everybody's perspectives as we move forward. We want to make sure that members can tap into their own networks and bring a wide variety of voices to the table. The goal of this process is to gather as much information from as many different voices as possible, and we want everyone to be a part of this process by telling city officials what you think we need to know, what we need to hear, what we need to think about. As we noted in the first meeting, there are many things about the refinery site that are not in the city's control. After all, it is a privately owned site. But we do want to make sure that we're asking the right questions, thinking about the right things, and planning for a variety of scenarios as the future of the PES site becomes more clear. There are several more meetings scheduled in the weeks ahead for specific constituencies to make presentations. On August 27th, we will hear from the academic and environmental experts. That meeting will be here, but it will be at slightly earlier. It will begin at 5 p.m. And last until 8:30. And on September 9th, we will hear from the business community. At the conclusion of this process, all of the feedback we have received will be put into a report and will be made publicly available. And we may be making recommendations to the mayor and to others. Please continue to check the website, phila.gov/refinery. And now I'm going to turn it over to Tony Wigglesworth to kick us off. Give it to Rich first.
No. The fire protection.
No, I already knew he didn't want to say
All
anything.
right.
It's all you, Tony.
Sorry. My name is Tony Wigglesworth. I'm with the Philadelphia Labor Management Committee. And before you are members of the advisory committee to the Philadelphia Energy Solutions Board, I'd like each individual member of the advisory committee to introduce themselves, and then I'll go over the agenda and go over the format for today's proceedings. Just pass it over. Okay.
You gonna use that one?
Good evening. My name is Anna Shipp, and I am the Executive Director of the Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Hughes. I'm the Faculty Director of the Kleinman Center for Energy Policy at the University of Pennsylvania.
My name is Jody Delabarba. I'm a community leader, Girard Estate area residents.
My name is Mark Lynch. I'm with Local 98 Electricians Union.
Hi, my name's Jim Snell. I'm the business manager, Steam Fitters Local Union 420.
Tony Wigglesworth, Palm.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ryan O'Callahan, president of USW Local 10-1.
Again, Brian Abernathy, Managing Director.
Adam Teal, I'm the Fire Commissioner and Emergency Management Director.
Rich Laser, Deputy Mayor for Labor.
Thank you. The members of this particular committee are, from my left, Mark Lynch, Jim Snell, myself, Ryan O'Callahan, and Rich Laser. What we plan on doing is to start off this meeting with brief presentations from each of us regarding our involvement with Philadelphia Energy Solutions and its impact economically on our organizations and on jobs. Following that, we have a number of speakers that have signed up. I will give you the name if you would and are still interested in testifying, if you could use the mic that's in the front there. I would ask you to keep your comments to the same time frame we as members are going to keep them, which is 3 minutes. I would also ask that if you do have a question that you want to ask, please ask it in the first minute so that we have an opportunity to respond to it without going over the 3 minutes. Finally, I would ask for civility, something that's in short supply in our society these days. There are many different interests, as Brian has mentioned, represented in this room. They have fervor and passion around what's going on with this refinery. I'd ask you to listen, I'd ask you to think, and then I'll ask you to speak. So with that, I'd like to turn the mic over to Ryan O'Callahan so that he can speak about.
Before I hand it over to Ryan, if folks could slide in, there's a lot of folks out in the hall trying to get in. So if you have seats next to you, please make room for others to come on in. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to hear.
Hello, everyone. Again, Ryan O'Callahan, Steelworkers. Number one, I would just like to say that those of us who work at the refinery are also community members. I live 6 miles away from the refinery. My brother-in-law lives down the street from the refinery. So we are community members. The refinery can be started right now. Only one operating unit is damaged out of a total of 30 units. So that refinery can be started right now. The refinery is a viable asset to anyone who may purchase us. I think that was well represented on June 21st. Next, the closure of the refinery has caused around 1,600 workers who are directly employed by PES to lose their jobs. Another 400 members of the building trades who work at the refinery on a daily basis are also out of work. My brothers and sisters in the building trades have worked over 8 million man-hours in the refinery on capital improvement projects since 2013. So when we hear that the refinery is 150, 160, 200 years old, the ground beneath our feet is, but the refinery isn't. That's where our brothers and sisters in the building trades come in on constant maintenance and improvements. Thank you. It is estimated that around 36,000 workers in this region will be affected by the closure of the refinery in some way as it relates to their salary. This is not just a city issue, it's a regional issue, far and wide, and has aspects of national security with the fuel supply to the northeast part of our country. The region will lose about $16 billion in economic output if this refinery is closed down permanently. The loss of revenue paid to the city and state will require hard choices to be made by our elected officials. What programs and social services will be cut? What city and state workers will be laid off? The poverty rate in the city of Philadelphia is 25%, the highest of any major city in the United States. The mayor, city council, and other elected officials have done everything they can to combat this. If the refinery is shut down, their hard work may go asunder. This refinery can be started right now, Healthy communities need good jobs, and the refinery should be started right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I'd ask that if you do have questions of a particular person, if you could hold them until after the presentations have been made, we would appreciate it. And with that, I'll introduce Jim Snell, Business Manager of Local 420.
Thank you, Tony. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I first like to start off by letting our brothers and sisters in the labor community working down at PES, Steelworkers Union. My heart breaks for you. Okay, the Philadelphia Building Trades are, thinking about you. You're in our thoughts and prayers. I mean, this is a punch to the gut for all of us. Okay. I just want to say that we're thinking of you, Ryan, for sure. Business manager, Steamfitters Local 420. I spent an awful lot of time down that refinery. I know what it's like to work in them mud pits, up in the racks, in this very hot weather, the cold weather. But the economic impact with this place shutting down, it's tremendous, not just for the city, but the entire region. I mean, as Ryan mentioned earlier, I believe it's for every refinery job that's lost, there's about 15 other jobs that are affected, okay? That means the guy making the pizzas around the corner, the guy who cleans our Nomex, okay? I mean, the guy that makes the nuts and bolts at some factory out in Chester County. That's how wide-ranging this thing is. We cannot, in my humble opinion, we absolutely cannot let this place just stay shuttered, okay? The tax base that facility provides for the city of Philadelphia and the state, it's a stable tax base. We just can't let it stay vacant. So yeah. And I do want everyone here to know from the building trades, John Doherty, the head of the building trades, is fighting hard. Trust me when I tell you, okay? And he's fighting hard for the building trades and the steel workers, okay? That's a fact. All right, John would be here. He's got some issues he's dealing with right now. But listen, this is horrific what the outlook could become. But we're here to do everything we can to keep this open, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll introduce Mark Lynch. Mark Lynch is a safety expert with IBEW Local 98 and was assigned to our group to fill out our resume regarding safety. Mark?
Good evening, everybody. I just want to introduce myself. You said my name's Mark Lynch. I work straight for IBEW Local 98, but I deal with the building trades directly on safety issues for all over the place. I feel like there's a false stigma. Besides our subcommittee and every other subcommittee, we're worried about everyone's safety down there, not only the workers, but the community also. I mean, I feel strongly in saying that we are the best trained and we are the safest. And you guys and girls should be proud of that. It means a lot. One of the things that a false stigma, I feel like everyone's being told that this place is safer shut down than it is open, and that's false. And that's because of the men and women in the trades and the steel workers, because you guys are there watching it every single day. So I commend you. I would put you up against the best train on the country. And I mean, listen, we have certifications that you guys have listed, pages and pages, drug tests, alcohol tests, your TWIC cards, your PSM, the continuing education you guys go through. So I commend you on the safety. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Next on the committee, Rich Laser, our primary contact with City Hall. Rich?
Thank you, Tony. As Tony said, my name is Rich Laser, Deputy Mayor for Labor in the county administration. I know a lot of people in this room. I have a lot of friends in this room. I've worked with a lot of people over my time in city government. One of my roles, just to explain, as Deputy Mayor for Labor, is the prime point person in the administration for labor, unions, and for any concerns that arise. So, as you may already know, I've been working with Ryan, Jim, and Tony over the last several months since we learned about this. And I think one thing I want to stress, and I know Mark had said it, is we don't only have the best trained, skilled workers in this region or in the city, but we have them best in this country. So that says a testament to everybody in here. And another thing I want to hit a nail on the head is, even though folks just don't work at that refinery, but they also live around that refinery, and our members, they support the organizations, the youth organizations, the churches, the community groups in these neighborhoods and in these townships around, and I think it's important. And one thing I don't want it to get lost as we do this, and I think this is one of the most important hearings that we're going to have in this process, and I think it's important for city folks to hear this, that we bring it back to the mayor, is that this is the real story of the worker. I don't want the worker story to get lost in this overall big thing that the media reports, or that things happen in these other hearings. The worker story, and I'm happy that we're going to hear from testimony from workers on what this means to them, what this means for their family, and what this means for their community. That's probably one of the most important things we're going to hear out of this. So, thank you everybody for taking the time to be here tonight.
Finally, there's some comments I'd like to make. I run a small nonprofit organization, Philadelphia Area Labor Management Committee, that operates the Built Right program that's been in place with this refinery since 1985. Since that time, it's been my privilege and honor to work with the men and women of Sunoco, Philadelphia Energy Solutions, before them Chevron, before them Atlantic Independent Union, before them ARCO. We have a long and storied history in South Philadelphia in making product, and I think it's the consensus of everybody up here that we want to continue that. I want to spend a minute talking about the direct economic impact. Ryan has talked about the expanded economic impact, but just to give you some idea of what the immediate loss of this refinery means, if I can get my iPhone to work. There was an analysis that we asked to be performed by Keystone Research out of Harrisburg to figure out exactly what the financial impact of this would be. The total dollar value of employees, permanent, contract, and professional, is $237 million per year in lost income. The supply chain impact, in other words, vendors, direct to PES. I'm not talking about the pizza guys that absolutely make their living here, but these are the vendors that provide services, equipment, and supplies. The total value of that lost to our community is $837 million a year, for a grand total of approximately $1.2 billion in economic activity, not spun off, but direct to what happens on Passyunk Avenue. I want to give an opportunity for my fellow advisory members who are not part of our subcommittee to say a few words if they would like.
Yep. The community I'm from, I could walk to the refinery. We have a lot of people in the community that work there, or impacted a lot by the closure. I'm the first person, I'm on the community advisory panel too, with the refinery. I would be the first person, if there's a smell in the air or if there's something going on, they responded immediately. And right now, the biggest impact it has on South Philadelphia is jobs. And we have a lot of industry that closed over the years, the Quartermaster, DuPont. People lost their jobs, stores closed, and people didn't have jobs. So this refinery, really the only use for it is a refinery, and that's what a lot in the community would like to see it stay, as a refinery.
Well, there's nothing better than following the loudest and longest cheer of the evening. But I just want to say I'm here in this, as not a member of this committee, but as a member of the larger advisory group. I am here to learn tonight. And as a professor, I haven't spoke for 3 minutes or less in 50 years, so I want to pass the mic quickly. I just want to say one thing. I genuinely believe that the future of energy, especially the workforce of that future of energy, is sitting in this room tonight.
I'm here to listen and learn as well. We as a business organization are very concerned about economic impact, very concerned about workers and their well-being and their welfare. And so we're here to also kind of, as part of the advisory group, hear your stories and learn about the impact that it's having to you and your families.
Thank you very much. We have a number of speakers that have signed up in order to speak. I'm taking them in the order that they've been presented to me. The first speaker for this evening is Pat Auditing, President of the Afl-Cio.
Thank you, Tony. My name is Pat Auditing. I'm the president of the Philadelphia Council Afl-Cio. I'm also the secretary-treasurer of the Philadelphia Building Trades. For full disclosure, I represent working people. That's what I do every day of my life, represent working people. I sit on almost 30 boards in the city of Philadelphia, or nonprofit boards. I deal with people in every neighborhood in this city at one time or another every week. So I do have a feel for the city of Philadelphia. Born and raised in Kensington, proud of it. Never going to leave Philadelphia except in a box. So I will have to tell you a little background. At 18 years old, I got out of school and I went to work in construction. And I wound up in a place called the Atlantic Refinery. After 2 hours, I figured out how to get into the place, and that's where I started work, in the construction field. I worked in and out of refineries and powerhouses all the time that I worked with my tools. Now, my brothers from Local 14 said that was only a week or so, but I did do some time. And I will tell you, during the time I worked in the refineries, especially the Atlantic, I worked with people who lived in the neighborhood. I worked with a guy named Heaney who snuck out the fence and went across the street to eat his lunch at home and then come back over again. It was about the neighborhood working there. I talk about all the jobs, supposedly, and why we don't have union. All the jobs left Philadelphia. You didn't need a car in Philadelphia when I was a kid. You could go in a 60 car and work in a textile mill anywhere on Allegheny Avenue. You could go anywhere in the city and get a job, and the smoke was all over the city. But we had jobs. And people weren't on the unemployed ranks. They were working. And places like the refinery are the only places we still have that maintain those jobs and maintain the economy in this city. Because I am Philadelphia, and we need the economy. I'm not going to try to cloud up my 3 minutes with facts and numbers. It doesn't take much to figure out that if you lose those jobs, you lose the taxes. You lose the taxes, you lose income. We're fighting every day to make this city better. We can't take money away. And you've heard about the refinery. What do you think is going to be there? There's a place over in Logan, New Jersey, was a chemical plant. For 20 years, they tried to clean it up. You know what they're going to put there? A liquid gas place, because there's nothing else to put there. This footprint is so big in Philadelphia, it means so much to Philadelphia. To have it sit there as an empty desert, and that's what it'll be, with all kinds of oil festering underneath the ground, would be a sad, sad testament to the working people of Philadelphia. So I'm here to support the city of Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania to do what they can to get a buyer, to keep this refinery. And by the way, don't let this lousy manager who came in here and screwed this thing up do something that's going to destroy the valuable part of this refinery, which is keeping it running. You know, you have a couple places where people come in with money and try to destroy things that put people to work in Philadelphia. You have 2 hospitals that are happened to, but nothing as big as this refinery. So I don't know where I am for 3 minutes, but listen to me. When the Green Party started and the Green Movement started, I was one of the first people in that meeting down at City Hall. So don't think I don't understand. With my little miniature schnauzer, I have a little cesspool in the back that I take care of stuff with. So I understand what I want for my grandkids and my great-grandkids. But you can't do it by putting people out of work. We need this refinery. Mayor, Governor, we need this refinery open. Don't let it close at all. We need it open. We need to get somebody in here who can manage it properly, not the people who come in here to try to destroy it. Thank you very much.
Also signed up and joining us tonight is Sam Robertson, representing Governor Wolf.
Thank you much. Arrived a little bit late from Harrisburg on the train, so apologies I didn't get to speak in the earlier round. And I think on behalf of the governor, I just want to say, you know, I'm here to listen and to learn as well as many of the other task force members. I'm not a member of the labor subgroup, but wanted to make sure to be here to hear the perspective, and particularly this week as we've had some tough announcements. Just know that that we're following very closely the issues that are playing out at PES. We have been from the very start of this this saga. You know, we have a daily staff meeting with the governor, and we've been talking about the PES facility since the very beginning, closely monitoring. The governor's reached out to many of the representatives of labor to talk about what the next steps here at this facility can be. We've got our Department of Community and Economic Development, who's also, Secretary Davin wasn't able to be here tonight, but he's been actively engaged on the task force. He's part of the task force as well. So also our Department of Labor and Industry. I think the key point for us, we recognize that this site has been a real energy workhorse for the Southeast, a real sort of economic driver of the region for 100 years now. We want to absolutely see that continue. The governor's instruction to us, play a productive role, try and make sure that this site comes back into productive use as quickly as possible. Keep the folks, you know, let's find ways to keep this work going at the refinery. I think that we know that there's, I think I heard 2 million man-hours at this facility. That's huge, and is well understood how important that is within the governor's office. You know, we've really engaged on energy issues, and I think sometimes that doesn't make us popular with some of our friends across the state, but you know, we know that this is a really critical part of Pennsylvania's economy, and whether it's here, whether it's down at Marcus Hook, we're trying to play an active role in making sure that this work continues. So I think on behalf of the governor, I'd say, and particularly for the folks that that have heard tough news this week, we hope that can be temporary, get people back to work as soon as possible, and we'll continue to be monitoring the situation, but also playing an active role in trying to be part of the future of this site. So thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to continuing to learn more from the presenters tonight.
Thank you. Next on our list of speakers is Councilman Al Taubenberger.
In 1930, my dad left Europe to come to Philadelphia for a job, because there were no jobs down there at that time. depression. Jobs are essential. Jobs are important. Jobs are also make energy. People want to get from place to place. They need to get in cars, public transportation. Most of them right now, with our technology as we have it, run with gasoline. And this refinery helps produce that. Philadelphia is the poorest city in America, poorest large city in America. We need to go to work. And getting this refinery back online safely, securely, and as green as possible has to be done. We need to rebuild this, and Philadelphia needs to get back to work. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is State Representative Maria Donatucci.
Good evening. I'm going through deja vu. When I was a freshman, that's when Sunoco was pulling out. And Tom Corbett at the time would not talk to anybody that was in this room. I went to that podium as a freshman and I talked to you because we start realizing that we weren't just losing 1,100 jobs. We were losing jobs across the southeast region of this state. It trickles down big, people. You have to understand it. The mom and pop stores, the truck drivers, the other industries that depend on this industry. Hey, I'm always fighting the balance of economics and environment. We need to start working together to get it going because I don't have a magic wand to make sustainable energy tomorrow. It's coming. It's coming in the future. But in the meantime, I like these lights on. I like the air conditioning in here. And if we don't have the energy that we're working with now, we won't have this. You may as well throw your computers away and everything else until we get there. And we will work together to get there. But in the meantime, we need to fuel our cars. We need to fuel our jets. I don't know about you, but I'm not taking a slow boat to China when I want to go on a trip. I'm getting on a plane with fuel, and the fuel is being made here. And so are a lot of the plastics and everything else that are used in our hospitals and used in so many different industries. It's all happening here in Philadelphia. So we're not just losing 1,100 jobs. It can go as far as 30,000 jobs, and that's really scary to me. And it should be scary to all of you because it affects all of us. You know, when the gas prices go up at the pump and the heating prices go up, if that's how you heat your home, my constituents suffer. And I don't want to see them suffer. We need the industry. We need to get it going. We need to work together to make it good with the environment and the, thank you, and the economics of it. You know, if I had the magic wand, I would do it. Hey, there's even problems with solar panels. Solar panels have batteries. How do we dispose of them all? We're still working on all of that. We're working on all of this. You know, but we can be an energy hub. I was like, before I came here, I was trying to see like all the impacts that this does with the energy and everything. In the winter, there are some times that there's not enough heat, there's not enough electric. And Philadelphia is becoming the market instead of us having to look for the market and pay higher prices. So let's all work together. Let's keep jobs in Philadelphia and across the whole region in this area. It's important to all of us. I know it's important to me. Thank you. And, you know, my office is always open to both sides of the issue, to all the unions. You know, I stuck with you 7 years ago. I talked to you in Harrisburg. And finally, when they realized that it was affecting 30,000 jobs, that's when Tom Corbett came forward and got involved in it. Thank you. And Tom Wolf is involved in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Roman Kravitsky. Roman? Okay. Tammy Murphy.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Tammy Murphy. I'm with Physicians for Social Responsibility. Although everyone seems to be blindsided by the sudden fire, the truth is that the city should have had an immediate plan for employees. Advocates have been warning of the potential closure of the refinery, calling in advance for a just transition for employees and a healthy transformation of the site. I come from a union family and feel a deep empathy for families dependent on the wages and benefits that come with the hard work that laborers contribute. I understand in a very real way what happens when a job ends, and even worse, when an industry that people have built their careers around no longer provides the union jobs on which their families depend. A solid job is a very difficult thing to lose, and without plans for a just transition, many are unlikely to find that level of pay again. The city should have been better prepared for this closure. We saw it coming, we told them, we asked them to prepare for a just transition. The city did not prepare for this situation. Union workers deserve good money for their hard work and deserve safe and fair conditions. Returning the site to a refinery or another toxic, environmentally backward industry, however, is just a way of kicking the can down the road, because the fossil fuel industry is, by its nature, unsustainable, and therefore so is the job market attached to it. The bosses of the fossil fuel industry ultimately undermine the careers and the lifestyle for which you train, work hard, and take risks. They will continue to dismiss you at will and leave you empty-handed. We are calling on labor leaders and rank and file to stand with us to reject the corporate bosses that want us divided and tearing each other down while they profit from our labor and our lives. I ask the rank and file laborers to look at the broader picture for yourselves and for the next generations, because too many leaders have not looked far enough ahead to even keep this generation employed. It is time to demand that labor leaders start rapidly preparing members for the transition off of fossil fuels, because it is coming, and we all need you to be ready. Environmentalists and public health advocates are not opposed to labor. In truth, our goals are tied to yours, and our success is tied to your success. We want you to succeed in creating solid jobs. We also want a healthy society. We want to work with you to develop a just and rapid transition into a healthier future together.
Thank you. Martin C. Willis.
My name is Martin Willis, and I'm a union boilermaker from Newcastle, Delaware. The closing of the Philadelphia Energy Solutions Refinery not only have an economic effect here in the city of Philadelphia, but in my state of Delaware, South Jersey, and all the 5 counties surrounding Philadelphia. The closure of the PES Refinery, the largest on the East Coast, has reduced refinery capacity on the East Coast from 1,224,000 barrels a day to only 889,000 barrels, a dramatic 20% decline. The refinery supplies 160,000 barrels per day of gasoline and 100 barrels of distillate products such as ultra-low sulfur diesel, home heating oil, jet fuel, kerosene, residual fuel oil, propane, refinery-grade propane, butane, comaine, and sulfur. All these products are distributed by truck, rail, piping throughout the northeastern part of the United States. I'm truly worried that within the coming weeks, a hurricane will form in the Gulf of Mexico and hit somewhere between Pascagoula, Mississippi to Corpus Christi, Texas, and force the closure of any one of the refineries that supply the Colonial Pipeline, which right now is maxed out and supplies the Northeast with distillate products. The Philadelphia Energy Solutions Refinery, that is a short-term problem. We've always known that every August, September, into October, that a hurricane in the Gulf is potentially lead to short supplies and a spike hike. But the long-term problem is the advent of the International Maritime Fuel Standards that go into effect January 1st, 2020. The maritime diesel fuel right now contains 3.5% sulfur. By January 1st, that sulfur content has to be, not just in the United States, but throughout the world, at 0.05 sulfur. This is diesel fuel. It's called very low sulfur. Diesel fuel is the same thing as home heating oil. The only difference is that diesel fuel you get at the pump is taxed and has a dye. Ironically, PES was going to have a maintenance turnaround tie-in on the Point Breeze 870 low sulfur unit right now, which would employ every single person in this room for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Also, the Point Breeze refinery was not affected by the June 21st incident that happened at Girard Point, and could be operating right now. Without this ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel that the Philadelphia Energy Solutions provides, we are going to have a serious problem, not only with home heating oil, but if we have a long projected winter, like we had last winter, all the new dual cycle power plants either run on natural gas or diesel fuel. When it comes really hard winter, there's not enough pipeline capacity for natural gas, and the power plants turn over to diesel fuel. We have to get this refinery up and running. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. January 1st is coming real fast. Thank you.
Thank you. Pauline Lena Blount.
Thank you. I have been a part of the Power Local Green Jobs campaign for the past 4 years with Power, Philadelphians Organized to Witness, Empower, and Rebuild, and the Earthquaker Action Team. And I just want to say thank you to all the workers who keep us safe. After the explosion, kept the city safe, did all the work showing up every day to make sure that our lights are on and we're safe here in the area. And I'll just say, I do think we have a common enemy here. I think that the bosses and the financiers who are pretty happy to get rich off of the backs of labor, off of our communities, are the ones who are just going to keep exploiting our differences. In our campaign to power local green jobs, we've been going to PECO, our electrical utility here in the area, whose parent company, Exelon in Chicago, profits $1 million a day off of our region. And we've asked PECO to get that energy from here in Philadelphia. They should buy energy right here. They should buy renewable energy right here in the city, and their corporate parent is going to keep them from doing that. I honestly believe this refinery can be an energy hub. It can be an energy hub that takes care of future generations, that provides clean energy and keeps the light on in our city without poisoning the community. Whether it's solar, whether it's just transition, there are good jobs to be had at this site. I agree, it should not be used for anything else. People cannot live here. Businesses should not be built on the refinery land. People should be at work with healthy jobs that don't poison people. We could have solar panels all throughout this area fueling this city. And then the companies out in Chicago, Exelon's also a generation company. Don't lose track of the fact that PECO is buying electricity from their parent company. The managers are always going to profit. That's what they do. I think we have a lot to be gained from saying that right here in Philadelphia, our communities deserve to be healthy. Generations of people who have been poisoned deserve to have good jobs that don't hurt them or their families. I hear
Please.
you. I agree. I don't think the workers are hurting the community. I think the bosses are. I think the management is. I think the companies in Chicago and all these financiers who want to come in and make a quick buck and let it go bankrupt and let themselves get bailed out again. The companies get bailed out, the workers don't. And I want a bigger vision. I want a bigger vision. As people of faith in the Power Local Green Jobs campaign, we believe in a future. We believe in loving each other and a future where everybody can thrive. and that the 1% is not going to get rich off our backs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Bland.
I'd like to thank the committee for giving me the opportunity to speak. I've made every meeting so far, every public appearance you guys had, and some of the state representatives also. You know, losing this refinery is going to be devastating. Now, the first comment today is work, jobs. You know, I'm going to reiterate a few things I said at the last meeting because I'm not going to make probably the next one. As a business manager of Local 13, I got to do my due diligence in trying to find work for my men, wherever it may be. Now, most of my membership, half of them live around the Delaware Valley area here. I've just sent about 120 guys to Pittsburgh. Some of the jobs may be about a year. That's a year away from your family. And I got a refinery right around the corner. So let me step back on that. I'm doing everything I possibly can. I'm reaching out to every contractor around this country for work for my members. And you know what I got? I got a contractor calling me up and saying, John, he goes, I got some refinery work. Could you help me out with it? It may start by the end of the year. I'm like, okay, where's it at? India. We need help. Could you send guys over to India? And I'm sitting here scratching my head. And that product, no EPA regulation, that product, where's it coming? It's going to come over here and supply power, and supply everything for the Northeast. So please take that back to our governor, please. We are going to be dependent. This is national security. And that was the message 5 years ago. And you know what? Alternative energy, it may be coming, but right now it's not. We are dependent 40% on this whole Northeast. Heating oil and our diesel fuel, we need help. And that was a message from the last governor and the last message from Bob Casey. This is national security. You know what's going to happen? And when you want to talk about shutting down the refineries, that shuts down the pipelines. There's no product coming up here. And when they shut them down, they're down for days. And when you're shutting down hospitals and everything else. So this is just about jobs. I mean, more about jobs. And I believe, I want to go fishing with my kids. I believe in a clean planet to do everything right. Everybody keeps talking about PES as an old refinery, 150 years old. I mentioned at the last meeting. You know what? I've been working in there since 1986. And that fine refinery has been, I would say, 95% rebuilt. And the people that work in this refinery are awesome, trained. The training, Mark was talking about the training. Our organizations, we spend millions of dollars a year in safety training and education to get this work done. Now, I've went to a lot of these meetings and the different industries too, and I've dealt with a lot of different environmental groups. And I've been extremely polite all the time to everybody's personal point of view. And I can tell you right now, I was extremely upset what I seen yesterday. I came to yesterday's meeting and I thought it was a total joke. Your community outreach here was a total joke yesterday. You had 400 guys that just got laid off. And you turn around and you got a bunch of environmentalists talking about, hey, let's make it a park. Put Frank Rizzo's statue down there. Hey, we could plant mushrooms to clean it up. Why don't you go with fairy dust? We need this plant.
Thank you. Rodney Ray.
My name's Rodney Ray. I'm a labor retiree. Nobody's talking about the community in our neighborhood and where we live. I lived here all my life. I watched my mother and my grandmother die from lung cancer. I watched my friends die from lung cancer. There's something going on in that refinery. It need to be shut down and it need to stay shut down. And I'm here to tell you, nobody's talking about where we live at. This is our neighborhood. This is where we live at. Do something about it. shut it down, and build something else there. That's all I got to say. I'm a laborer. I've been a laborer for 30 years. I did 5 shutdowns at the refinery.
Hold on 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, just respect every speaker that's here, okay? Takes a lot to get up to the microphone. You may not agree, but just respect everybody, okay?
And I'm from Philly Thrive. And, you know, we want something done about it. We had 2 big explosions over there. I was injured on one explosion at my house. So don't tell me nothing about it ain't dangerous, because it is. It need to be shut down, and it need to stay shut down.
Thank you. Brandon Peters.
Good evening. Thank you. My name's Brandon Peters. I work at the refinery. I have 2 boys and a wife, excuse me. A little nervous.
You're good, Peter.
Sorry, guys. I just wanted to go through a little bit of what we do at the refinery as an operator. Basically, we do 12-hour shifts. We get up early in the morning, get up late in the evening or whatever. I get in there, I gotta get my relief. I gotta find out what's going on with the refinery, what's going on with my units. If it's been a couple days, I gotta go through the E-logs, read up on everything. I gotta get up to speed fast, because you never know when something could happen with a unit upset or something like that. So I'll read through the night orders, read through the first maintenance starts. Now, if I have a maintenance event and I'm not sure about it, I have to get through and look through safety procedures, other procedures that we have for shutdowns, for maintenance prep and things like that. Then I'll discuss with the team my plans for the day, see if they have any issues I need to be informed of. I'll make sure all the planned work that we have going on is prepped and ready to go for lotto. So we have to steam it out, clean it out in an environmentally safe way. So we'll lotto all the equipment so it's safe to work on for our maintenance employees, or maintenance men, sorry guys. We'll walk out the job with the maintenance team before we give out any permits. They'll look at everything, make sure everything's locked out correctly. Once everybody's okay with that, then we go through, we write the permit together. Constantly worrying about safety and the environment, non-stop. That's what we do. Then when the permits are done, I'll go through both units. I'll read through the numbers, make sure everything looks lined up. Then I gotta walk through the units, make sure everything's the way it should be. Constantly looking for any issues that we might have. Then when that's all done, hopefully I get a phone call from my wife. Tells me how my boys are doing, make sure they got off to school okay. Then I catch up with the maintenance people that are out there working, make sure they're safe, make sure everything's okay. Then, if I'm lucky, I'll get a cup of coffee. Then we'll sit down and I'll talk with the operators that come in and if they have anything else to report. We're constantly looking for any issues that might upset the unit. We use our senses all the time. And then if there's any other issues, we'll resolve them with the other members of my team. But then sometimes management comes in and they ask us questions and ask us to make changes. So we adapt to those changes. And like I said, we are always worried about the safety and the environment. Everything we do is drilled there. Now, I was there the morning of June 21st. And if we didn't have the safety procedures that we had and the training, thank you, it would have been a lot worse. The operators, the ERT, the management team that was there, all responded, and we worked together, and it could have been a whole lot worse. It was just a fire on one unit. People ask me if it's safe to work there. If it wasn't safe, I would not work there. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Rocky.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. And I say that from the heart. My name is Barbara Rocky. My history is I'm a retired international rep with United Auto Workers. And after I had a generous retirement from United Auto Workers, I became the director of the Philadelphia Area Project on Occupational Safety and Health, better known as Philipposh, which now has a new director, Nicole Fuller. And also thanks to Fred and staff at the Building Trades, I also was an invited guest at the Building Trades Health and Safety meetings where I learned a lot. So I'm looking at you, Fred. Thank you. Thank you for that also. The Philipposh on its board. So first of all, just my background with the UAW. I don't need to tell you that when you're in the UAW, you've gone through plant closures. You've gone through friends and workers who you've met, some of whom walking out the last day of the plant with their toolbox died of a heart attack on the sidewalk. Going through a plant closure is no different than going through a refinery closure. It's one of the most traumatic, one of the most stressful, both to your health and to your heart and to your family, that anyone can possibly go through. And so I'm here today partially to rise and support with you, to tell you I get it. And my heart breaks for every one of you that is facing this right now, because it sucks. It absolutely sucks. And to not have the instinct to fight to turn that around would mean there's something wrong with you, actually, right? Also, in my years with Philipposh, we were fortunate enough for the entire time I was there to always have a member of Local 10-1 on our board, strong supporters of us, actually helped us get through many financial crises with the support we got from Local 10-1. And I got to know so much more about the operations at the refinery and the work the people do there. And so the other thing I wanted to say, I wasn't sure it would be said. It's been said 10 times already, but I'm going to say it again anyway. The people who run and work and keep the refinery going, not management, but the workers, are incredible. There's no better. None, period. And one of our board members who, I remember him educating me on when maintenance happens and when there's a shutdown for maintenance and the coming back online. And the skill to be able to do that smoothly, the intensity of that operation and the skill of the people who do it, you know, I didn't understand that. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but when Dr. David Michaels was Assistant Secretary of Labor for OSHA under Obama, he called me one day because we were funded by them to say that the producer of the Horizon film wanted to know if he, David Michaels, had anyone they could talk to about certain refinery operations. And I said, oh, hell yeah, we have a lot of people you could talk to who do that every day. And that's the kind of reputation that the skill of the workers in this area have, that kind of phone call would have been made to us. I also know that just like, let me see, I'm going to go back to auto for a second. So now workers are being replaced by robots, and now the biggest health and safety issue the UAW has and a lot of the part suppliers is robots are going rogue and stabbing the workers to death. We had 2 killed last year, 2 parts supplier workers were killed by rogue operators, so robots, I mean. So, you know, there is no work site that doesn't have dangers, and that is certainly true for the refinery. And that's something that, to pretend isn't true, it is true. And so because of that, the skill of the workforce for the thing to, now, who the new owner might be, whether it's, that's above my pay grade, right? I mean, that's not what I'm trying to address here. What I am trying to address here is that we should be very proud in Philadelphia that we have the kind of workforce that's been built here, both with the steel workers, the old OCAW, Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union, that are absolutely professional refinery workers, and the building trades in our city. I'm all about safety. I'll always be there to help, and I'll always be there to holler and yell and scream if I think safety isn't being promoted. And in the meantime, the final point I forgot is, who the hell does PES think they are? That they would have stopped giving Local 10-1 members their pension contribution. Ryan, is it for the last year that happened? I know you're challenging it through the collective bargaining process. Do you believe that? Did you know? I mean, I think most people don't know that these rotten people withheld their obligation of a pension contribution to the members of 10-1. That's who we're dealing with. And so with that, I'm going to say thank you, and again, solidarity, brothers and sisters.
Thank you. Dennis Kildare.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dennis Kildare. I'm Local 14 Heat and Frost Insulator. I was kind of hope I wasn't going to get called there because everybody's had a lot of good information, including my brother here, Pat Auditing, and a lot of other building trades guys. Now, I worked down there for over my 18-year period. I've been there on and off. And I look a lot of these guys as family, and especially Ryan. And you know, we've all talked about the families and what it's going to do, but the one thing I can add that probably nobody's talked about, you know, man hours. And somebody that's not involved in the building trades probably doesn't really understand what that means, but it's contributions to pension, health and welfare, annuity. And the amount of hours that we contribute down there could be a very hardship to the pension and annuity. Health and welfare is, you know, our families depend on health and welfare. We have to have a certain amount of hours to maintain them. And if you don't get them, you lose them. And a lot of guys, that's the only place they work down there. So they're going to lose their health benefits. And as the Boilermaker pointed out, traveling. You know, where a lot of these hours, in order to get them, we're going to have to travel from all parts of the country. And it's devastating to family. You know, when I traveled, I was fortunate enough to not have any kids, but a lot of these kids, or a lot of these members, you know, they're coaches. You know, they have 2, 3 kids. It's going to be a hardship. So the man hours is not just a paycheck. It's maintaining a pension for people. There's currently people here that are retired that are living off the pension. And, you know, we're going to have to work, you know, till we're 62, 64, 66. And in this trade, that's very hard, getting up and down a ladder. Imagine that, getting up a ladder at 66 years old. You know, and that's what we're looking at if we close places like this. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Terrence Ford.
Good evening. As soon as you walk in PES, they tell you essentially 3 things. Be safe, keep the product in the pipes, take care of the community. Unlike a lot of refineries down south, overseas, where they're in isolated areas, we're right here with our community. People who work there live in the community. I'm literally 10 minutes from the refinery. We have a 3-year apprenticeship program to learn how to make sure we can keep ourselves, our community safe. Any job that we're doing, we have the right, whether it be for employees or for any contractors, any of the brothers and sisters in the room, to stop a job if it's not safe. Everywhere around the refinery, because I work with one of the people who does it, they have air quality monitors all around the fence line. So if there's anything, the city, the state, the federal government are all going to know, and they're coming in to shut us down. Obviously, we haven't been shut down. We have programs for internship programs for salary personnel, as well as hourly children, our kids, coming in to work in the refinery. We had a partnership with Bach High School, where we have people here who graduated directly from Bach High School and started working in the refinery as soon as they graduated. If this was a situation where it was safety, none of us would let our kids in there. None of us are dumb enough to value $1 more than the health and safety of ourselves, and especially not our children. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. David Wagner.
Good evening. My name is David Wagner. I've been a USW 10-1 member working at the refinery for 14 years. I have worked side by side with my union brothers and sisters, as well as my union brothers and sisters in the building trades, and have come to find out that these individuals are some of the most skilled, experienced, safe, and talented workers I've had the pleasure to work with. We are the people that are being directly and immediately affected by the idling of this refinery. Some of the residents of Philadelphia apparently want the refinery to be shut down because they perceive it to be unsafe, but I don't think they actually realize what it is they're asking. Sure, it's easy to point at the refinery and make a claim that there's pollution and hazards and danger coming from the refinery, but on the morning of the 21st of June, the dangers and hazards were confined to the refinery by their professional and skilled workforce and first responders. Was there a smoke release from the refinery on the morning of June 21st? The answer is yes. It could have been much worse had it not been for our personnel who have continuous and up-to-date safety training to handle situations in the event of an emergency. This is to ensure that the residents of Philadelphia and the surrounding areas will be protected and kept safe. That being said, the smoke that the residents see coming from our stacks on a daily basis is in fact steam. There have been claims made about people are dying out here, or I've lived outside of the refinery for 12 years, and now all of a sudden I have asthma, and I had to go to the hospital that morning for 3 breathing treatments so I can breathe again. Yet 600 plus union members that are in that refinery on a daily basis don't have any of these symptoms. How do you explain that? If the refinery is shut down, I hope that anyone who is advocating the closure of this refinery understands that what it means to the Northeast Corridor, especially the city of Philadelphia. The loss of city wage tax, as well as the tax revenues paid to the city of Philadelphia, they are going to go away. And where do you think the city is going to look for the lost revenue? From the residents. The price of all the consumables that everybody takes for granted are going to increase, from the food we eat, to the clothes we wear, to the shoes on our feet, the gas, diesel, home heating oil, and everything in between, which has some connection with fossil fuels. The trucking companies, railways, and cargo airline companies who transport all of these products that we use on a daily basis are going to charge more for the transportation of said items. Therefore, the wholesalers are going to charge more to the retailers, who in turn will raise the price of the products, which will be passed on to the consumers, which are you and I. At the end of the day, we all care about one another and our health. But don't point the finger at the refinery as the sole source of air pollution, when you live right under the flight path of the Philadelphia International Airport and next to roads that public transportation utilize each and every day. Keep in mind, if this refinery is closed, where do you think we're going to get these fossil fuels from that we need to exist? It's going to have to come from overseas, which can be major security issues for the United States. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Patty Beach.
Good evening to everyone here. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak. I am an operator at the crude unit at the Philadelphia Energy Solutions Refinery. I am still on the payroll until tomorrow or the next day. I have been there approximately 21 years. I wanted to just kind of go over, we had some great descriptions from Brandon and from Terrence about how our job functions from day to day, how safe we are. And I just wanted to give you my story over my 20 years' time. I've worked as an outside operator, as a trainer, as a safety rep, and as a PSM rep. We are trained very hard during our time there to be as safe as we possibly can be, as someone said, to keep the oil in the pipes. The first thing I heard when I got there was, if it's not safe, don't do it. And we don't. If it's not safe, we don't do it. We back up, we regroup, and we decide the best way to go forward with any project that we're handling. I work nights and weekends there. I work holidays. I'm away from my family a lot. I never felt unsafe being there. And like I said, I've been there 21 years. My second year there, I was still an apprentice. My son got a job with one of the local contracting companies and has been working in the refinery 19 years. If it wasn't safe, I wouldn't bring my son in. I also have a Marine who started there about 7 years ago. I now have a son-in-law that also works there who is going to get walked out tomorrow. This has been a very emotional time for us. A lot of my family works there. We've all been safe. We haven't been hurt. I'm healthy. My family is healthy. Refinery is a great way to make a living, but we also have a lot of impact on the community as well. For the 20 years that I've worked there, we have worked with local organizations doing adoptive family, Toys for Tots, cat coat and hat drives. These things may sound small, but when you consider the 1,100 employees that work there, we have given a lot to the community as far as tangible items, food drives. Those things aren't going to be there anymore if we don't come back to work and reopen. A lot of the employees that work there are looking at jobs out of the city. That's going to hurt the economy of the city itself. I alone last year gave over $3,000 in just Philadelphia wage tax. Doesn't sound like much, but when you times that by the just 1,000 employees, I did easy numbers. That's over $3 million. Not to mention the contractors that work there, at least another $1 million during turnaround times. When they're talking the higher numbers, that number is way higher. So that's a lot of money that the city is going to lose in just city wage tax, not including what the state tax brings in. And as someone else had mentioned, where's that money going to come from if we stay closed? It's going to come from the community's pockets, because they're either going to lose things that that money provides for, or they're going to be asked to pay more. So sorry. And then a lot talked about the local businesses. You may think it's silly, but a lot of the operators grocery shop in the area. Even when we're working, we order out like everybody does, but that's a lot of ordering out when you consider that each shift there's probably 500 to 700 people on shift ordering out, supporting the local mom and pops. So what happens when all that ordering out dries up? The local, I'm so sorry, I'm a little nervous, but the eateries, the gas stations, the local stores, even the grocery stores. I grocery shop a lot on my way into work. We have kitchens, we cook when we have the opportunity. You know, that doesn't include the local contractors that work within the refinery that also do all these things. They provide and pitch in towards things that we donate to and items like that. The refinery workforce is a family and a group of people that work together through all kinds of shifts in good and bad weather, cold and hot weather, during holidays, and often we share holiday meals together. This past week, I have watched almost every union employee be walked out. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm going to cry, but it's been very, very emotional. These are people that I have worked with for 20 years. And they're going to be disbanded and taking jobs all over the continent. I may never see some of these people again. I may see them on Facebook, but it's been very, very emotional watching them go. It has been emotional for everybody that's been involved in it. It has been much a pleasure to work there, and I hope I come back to work there. I hope we can all work out our differences, and we can provide not only for the Philadelphia community by being a functioning and safe refinery, and bring back the money, bring back the jobs, and support everybody in the process. Thank you so much for letting me have this time.
Thank you. Mitch Chanin.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I grew up here in Philly in a PFT family. My dad's a school science teacher and counselor. My mom was a school secretary. One of the most powerful memories of my childhood is when my parents were forced on strike by Mayor Green and the school district when they tore up their contracts, canceled raises, and laid people off in the early 80s. My whole childhood involved those memories of my parents' involvement with the labor movement. I'm also a climate justice activist, and I really appreciate everything that I've heard from people tonight. I want to more share questions than answers, because I have absolutely no doubt that every person who works at the refinery has done their absolute best to keep people safe and healthy. And at the same time, when the refinery is operating in the best way possible, it's still the largest source of toxic air pollution in Philadelphia. And the products that it produces when burned are also major sources of air pollution here in Philly and wherever they're used. I totally agree with the person who said that if the refinery closes in Philly, that doesn't solve our environmental problems. It just displaces the pollution that's coming from PES to other communities near other refineries, and that's not good. In order to have a livable climate, we're seeing damage from climate change now in the form of extreme weather, heat waves, sea level rise, farmers not being able to plant their crops in the Midwest, flooding, people dying in heat waves, and it's going to get much, much worse. And how bad it gets will be determined by how quickly we move from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Whatever happens with PES in the next couple of years, there's basically no way around the need to reduce and pretty quickly eliminate the use of fossil fuels. So my question is, what are we going to actually do? Like, how are we going to build the infrastructure, the energy systems that we need in the United States and around the world? And how are we going to do it so that those jobs are good and so that people who work at places like PES don't get screwed over like people are getting screwed over now? So I don't have, and I don't want to provide a glib answer like it's easy, because I don't think it is. I think we have an unprecedented challenge in our country now, which is how are we going to rebuild all of these systems at an almost unprecedented pace, like on the scale of World War II? Because I really believe that is what's needed to have a livable planet and to have a livable climate. And I don't think there's any way we can do that unless there's some way that environmental groups and unions can work together. I don't think it's possible that we can do it at the speed that's needed, and I certainly don't think it's possible that the jobs that end up being created will be good ones, or that people who now work in fossil fuel companies aren't going to get left behind. The one other thing I wanted to, and so that's just my question to everybody in the room. How are we going to do that? I don't know how we're going to do that, but I don't see any alternatives, so I hope we can figure it out. The one other thing I wanted to say is that I don't think it's really come up before, but my understanding is that the Carlyle Group basically walked away with like $500 million that they paid themselves off with. They just took it out in dividends, and then they said, we don't have any money, we're going bankrupt, we're selling off to, other creditors can own the company, you all might not get your pensions. Okay. Can I finish though? All I want to say is, if the Carlyle Group walked off with $500 million, how do we make them cough it up? How is it okay for them to do that? Private equity companies do this all the time. They screw over workers in every industry. They leave them behind, no pensions, no severance pay, no benefits, no anything. And they did that here, and it's not okay with me. And if there's something that people like me can do to help get them to pay up some of the money that they stole, I would like to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Pat Delaney.
I'll just say quickly, I'm a little passionate about this. I work there. I grew up in South Philadelphia. My family lives in South Philadelphia. It's a little annoying to see this company, these people being demonized. This isn't, believe me, these are family, these are friends, these are people in your community. These are people in your community. And I have some answers for you. As far as, we make 7 million gallons of gasoline a day at our facility at 335,000 barrels. You don't have enough footprint to put windmills, solar panels to absorb that capacity. We do 4 million gallons of heating oil, diesel, that supports 27% of the East Coast. 27%. And if you get that in India, China, if you get it in Russia, that fuel, guess what? It is going to have a negative impact on the environment. If you think these people don't care about the environment here, we have PES spent $138 million to lower the sulfur spec on the gasoline from 40 parts per million to 10 parts per million with no economic advantage. And it hasn't been put in service. That's January 1st. We put on scrubbers on our cat crackers. We recycle the cat that comes out of the cat crackers that goes to a cement mill. We recycle the sulfuric acid that goes back to Veolia. If you don't have the answers. You have a simplistic approach for something that isn't simple. You don't have the answers. And closing this facility is not the answer. I have one more thing to say. These are the people that are in your community. These are the people who do the blood drives. These are the people who support United Way. These are the people who get the interns from Drexel University, from Penn, from Temple. These are the people that work with us. These are your children. These are the future of your neighbors, your friends, your family. If you want to close it, that is the wrong direction. Believe me, these people care about the environment. We have 1,100 wells in the place. We have fence monitoring. We have stack monitoring. All that stuff is taken care of. To say that these people, believe me, this business, that you think like, hey, I got asthma, and I hope that you don't. I hope that, that our facility hasn't done that. But I don't believe that it's a result of it. I know the water coming out of the river is cleaner when we put it back. We have wastewater treatment plants. This facility supports to change it into a park, which would be wonderful. To have a park there would be great, but it doesn't far outweigh the positives that this facility creates for the community. This facility creates an unbelievable amount for the community, believe me. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Gutz.
My name's Richard Gutz. I live in North Frankfort neighborhood of Philadelphia with my wife and my children. I'm going to weave together some of the comments that I've heard recently. Previously, I was a teacher of math, Germantown High School, and a charter school, North Kensington. Heard someone talk about their parents were teachers. That's what I did. 16 years ago, I got an offer to come to the refinery. I had a job offer and I came, and I've been an operator here for the last 16 years. The previous owner of the facility, Sunoco, when they were operating as an oil company, they were investing in the neighborhoods. They were investing in the local schools. Bach had programs there to train people to work jobs like PGW, like the refinery. Had one of those guys come work at our unit. He learned and grew so much. I mean, that opportunity for him was life-changing for him. He bought a house. His whole family was living in his house. They were under his cell phone plan. He was paying for his sister's car. It changed their family's whole life. I really hope that a new potential owner will be invested in the community in that same way, and that they'll invest in the schools and the neighborhood youth, because that's a tremendous opportunity. Someone mentioned that nobody was talking about their neighborhood. I am. I want to see that investment in the community. A refinery will allow that to happen. A solar farm that employs less than 5% of the full-time workforce that we would have, that's not going to give you that same return into the community. The idea of that solar is the answer for workforce, it's not going to employ the people. It's not going to employ your children. It's not going to replace the energy that we would be losing. It's a small fraction of any of that stuff. The youth that I mentor in North Frankfort, in my community, these guys have never used a socket set. They haven't changed a car tire. And you have the opportunity to live life with them and show them those things, and they're eager to learn. And I hope a new refinery, pours back in, has mentoring programs, gets involved in the schools. But it really is a chance, a potential chance for good in the community. And and I hope in the future they are able to tie that in. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Robinson.
Hi, I'm not Lynn Robinson. I'm Minal Ravel. She chose to let me speak. I've gotten laid off in the past, and I remember how it felt to have the rug pulled out from under me. So I empathize with the folks here. People say we need heating oil and that we need gasoline. I say we don't. I drive an electric car, and I heat my home with electric, and I have.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I have my row home roof packed with solar panels that is adequate for all my needs: the car, the heat, the blender, the stove, everything, the washer, the dryer. So I am living proof we don't need fossil fuels. It's time to rethink what's possible.
Thank you. That concludes our list of speakers. I want to thank everyone who came on behalf of the advisory committee members that are up here. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your time. Sounds like the rain stopped, so drive home safely. Good night.